Welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Osborn, and on this podcast, we interview successful business owners for them to share atomic impactful lessons that they've learned throughout their business career and share them with us. As always, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everybody hates. We use this method about 26 qualified leads and sales calls in 10 days without any ad spend, outreach, or endless social media posting. To generate more leads on LinkedIn, you have to stop marketing on LinkedIn. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn, have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn, and the link to that will be in the show notes below. But on today's show, our special guest is Tonia Phanor, the owner of Excel Communication, where she provides communication coaching, which is absolutely brilliant. So, Tonia, welcome on the show today. I want to start off with my first question that I always love to ask. And it is this: if you were able to go back in a time machine to when you started your very first business, what's the number one piece of advice that you would give yourself?
Wow, it's so hard to say because it was such a different time then. I started, so a little background about me. I was an educator. I taught communication at various universities for over 20 years. And I started coaching and consulting because I had business professionals. They knew I was a professor and they were like, oh, I really need help with my speaking. I hate doing talks and everything. Can you give me help? And so eventually a consulting business was born. And back then in 2000, I was meeting in person with people and not realizing. So I guess, it's hard to say, but I guess just to be prepared for the changes and growth that is going to occur that causes you to totally revamp your business. And I have a mentor who always tells me like every 6 months you should be looking to go to 2.0. Like you need to see where you need to increase. So I guess be prepared for change, and
Yeah.
that you have to be flexible and you have to be adaptable because obviously there's some businesses back then that didn't adapt that are no longer here today. And so yes, I guess be flexible, be adaptable, but keep going.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of that, being adaptable to change, what is one of the biggest challenges that you've gone through in your business, and what's the lesson you learned from that?
I think going from a solopreneur to being able to have an actual business. And so I was working, I was a professor and I was doing consulting, on my own. It was just me as the marketing, the everything, the banking director. It was everything. I was everything. And so I think I would have built a team earlier. And, it, of course, is challenging when you're doing everything by yourself. And I know it's hard when you're first starting out in business. You may not have the funds or resources to, hire a lot of people. But, even as a professor, guess what? I have great college students that could serve as interns or like you need to have other people to help support you. You can't do everything by yourself. And so it was years later that I, started incorporating and building a team. And so I think that that was definitely challenging when you're just trying to figure everything out by yourself. And mentorship, obviously, and coaching definitely helped me, to continue to advance my business.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So starting a team earlier or building out a team earlier, you're saying would have been a big lesson for you?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting around all the teams because I think we all know that building out teams, but I don't know
Hmm.
why there seems to be a lot of reluctance on people doing that. It's fascinating to me.
Yes, because it does take work, to find the right people. And, I've, you know, hired, and you have to, it takes time to build a team. I took a full year just building my team, but it it's worth it in the end. So you can focus on doing the things that are, in your zone, in your genius. You can focus, me coaching, consulting, speaking, that is my jam. But all the other things, you know, that are not really maximizing your efficiency that you can put out there and that people are more skilled in. No one is skilled in everything. But I think that people are just afraid of the responsibility and the cost.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree with you. There's a little bit of a fear factor in that, and relinquishing some of that
Mhm.
control you've had, or
Mhm.
and it's not always a control issue, it's just relinquishing, like, oh my God, like I'm giving this over to somebody else, and it's your baby you've built up, and kind of letting go is it can be challenging for sure. So in terms of the communication that you coach people on and help people with, are there any common themes that you see that are repeated
Mhm.
issues from clients that you think, "Do you know what? If people just would figure out this one thing, like it would save people so much time." And if so, what is that theme, and what's your advice around that?
It's crazy. We were just talking about what holds people back from growing their business. And in many ways, it applies to communication as well, and it's fear. Public speaking is the number one fear that most people have. And it's, even if they have spoken before, they're afraid of how people may respond. They're afraid of messing up. They're afraid of, so many things that could could go wrong. And yes, no, there are situations. I was giving a presentation yesterday in technology, sometimes it works with you, sometimes it doesn't, but you roll with it. And it's a skill. I think that some people think that you're either born a great speaker or you're not. And that is not true. Like writing, like anything, any other art form, it's a skill. Warren Buffett, there's a quote that I used by him. He was speaking to graduate students, and they asked him how to be successful. We know he's a billionaire, and one of his fears was communication speaking, and he had a communication coach. And so, what he told them was that if you want to increase your success by at least 50%, you need to invest in your communication skills. And so I think that people don't take the time to be intentional to invest in really making sure that they're prepared to represent their business, to promote their business, whether that's online now or in person. And that just gives you so many more opportunities to do. So I think the fear of that is holding people back, but really once they are able to build confidence, and the more you do it, the more confidence that you'll have. But it definitely can allow your business to expand exponentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's such an important factor for sure, that communication. And you're right. I've been public speaking since I was like 14. Um, but I wasn't naturally good. It's just built up over time and practice. And so we can always learn and get better. But yeah, communication is such an important thing in everything, life, business, relationships. It's very, very, very important. So, yeah. Well, Tanya, what are your goals in your business over the next couple of years? What are you wanting to achieve?
And so I am excited about the future of Excel communication and just what we're building to really, I'm passionate, about helping people to be successful, obviously, particularly in communication. I just released a new book, Win with Words, and that was a summer. And so I'm definitely going to be speaking and doing a lot of things to promote that, and to also increase our capacity for contracts for larger companies. I did a lot of executive coaching and one-on-one coaching with individuals, but now I'm doing more training for companies. We have been fortunate to do training for government entities and their leadership, and that is definitely the role that I want to go more into in the future, in securing larger contracts for that, and being able to have some long-term relationships, like where I'll come in, and I'll do a training. It's kind of not one and done, but I really want to be invested, within a company over a year, and work with all their leaders, and really you can see obviously much more effectiveness and growth with more long-term commitment. So that's the goal, is to build out and begin to really start going more B2B, and focusing on working with companies and businesses. And I mean, we've done executive coaching for Meta, for Disney, for government entities, for different things, but I want to focus on really being a part of the companies.
Yeah, love that. That's what an amazing goal. That's fantastic. Well, Tonia, for people that are wanting to learn more about you or get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
And so for our book, have to that winwithwordsbook.com will lead you to that. And me, I'm a Dr. Tonia Phanor on everything that is social media wise. Just, yeah, Dr. Tonia Phanor. And for consulting and training, for communicatewithconfidence.net.
Amazing, amazing. Well, make sure everyone check out Tonia and have just go check her out. Get in contact with her, communicate with her because that is her specialty. So thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a great privilege having you on. And as a reminder for everybody, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everybody hates. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn, and the link to that will be in the show notes below. And until next episode, stay inspired.